Papadopoulou. I'm an electrical engineer at CERTH, and I participate in the SINNOGENES Horizon Europe project, which is related to flexibility and storage systems. I'm here today to interview Ms. Angelina Bintoudi, who is the co-founder and CEO of OPTIMEMS. Hi, Angelina.
Hello. Hello. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Would you like to say a few words about OPTIMEMS?
Yes, of course, I would be glad to. So, my name is Angelina Bintoudi. I am co-founder and CEO of OPTIMEMS, the newest spinoff from the largest research center in Greece, CERTH. And we are here to greenify the world one microgrid at a time by essentially providing energy management solutions for microgrids and virtual power plants, like the big brother of microgrids. We are 1.5 years old. We have presence in Greece, Sweden, and Austria. We have very good track record despite our young age, and we have already broken even several different contracts with a lot of clients, hopefully trying to put our grain of sand towards decarbonization. Thank you.
Perfect. So I have prepared a few questions regarding the flexibility sectors and how it might be related to OPTIMEMS. There are questions about technical requirements, market compatibility, consumer acceptance, and of course, future developments. To begin with, there are the technical requirements. So the first question would be, according to your practical experience, do you use flexibility in your operation? And if so, can you provide specific examples?
Yes, actually, flexibility is our core. Our energy management systems, as I mentioned, they are applied to microgrids and virtual power plants, which are essentially the interconnection and cooperation between renewables, storage, electric vehicles, power to gas, power to heat, like CHP and HVACs. And all these things. The main thing that we provide is essentially we, like a maestro, we operate all these assets in order to maximize the flexibility that we can extract through the dynamic synchronization in terms of operational concurrency of all these assets. The objectives, they are multiple since our solution is horizontal and it can be applied from just like one house up until a neighborhood, a small industry, or even at smart city level. So these objectives, they can be either like the simple one, minimization of costs for my own home, or the smart and optimal usage of flexibility for participation in demand response schemes. Any kind of demand response schemes. So in general, we can also call it demand side management. So yeah, flexibility is essentially the energy resource of the future, and we're trying to exploit it in the best way possible, creating additional and optimized revenue streams for both the users and also the DSOs and the large producers.
I see. This is very interesting. So the next question is about market compatibility. Now, regarding to government policies, how do government policies and regulations impact your organization's approach to flexibility? And do you think that there are changes that need to be made?
Amazing question. Well, since, as I mentioned, we are a spin-off of CERTH, like me and my team, we have participated in several different Horizon projects, which essentially gave birth to our energy management system. And therefore, we had the opportunity of deploying our technology in 8 different sites across Europe, ranging from just like small homes up until neighborhood levels, as we did it, for example, in the UK, or creating virtual power plants in Sweden and Germany, or even going to a whole island level or installation. Like we did a snow resort in Spain and an island in the Atlantic, Terceira. And what we have seen is that it's a multi-gear ecosystem, Europe, on how we enable people to put their stone in all this flexibility exploitation. Why? Because we have seen very advanced countries like Sweden, the UK, and Germany providing multiple and different incentives and, of course, the proper frameworks in order for anybody to participate in demand response, for example, in the balancing market or the intraday market, or they are providing real-time pricing which changes. It's not constant, but it changes every day. And what we have seen is that all these kinds of frameworks, policies, and regulations, they have a massive impact on the actual deployment scale of these technologies, of the microgrid and virtual power plant technologies, which are essentially the heart and bone of flexibility provision. And at the same time, we have seen Greece. Well, I'm Greek, so it actually hurts me quite a bit to say that we're so left behind. Like demand response is not available for everybody, or by the energy providers, they don't integrate houses or small industries and commercial buildings, even though they do have amazing flexibility potential. Or at the same time, we do not provide real-time pricing or dynamic time of use and these things. All these barriers, essentially, they put a halt in the adoption of green and flexible technologies. And when I'm saying flexible technologies, because the thing with flexibility, it's like it's an umbrella term. It's everything. I'm referring to storage EVs, but with the proper charges, like including V1G and V2G. I'm talking about power to heat, CHP, smart solar, smart thermal solar. I'm sorry, thermal batteries. All these things, they do provide flexibility. However, we are a multi-gear scenery in Europe. And I think this needs to change.
So, when it comes to financial incentives, what types of financial incentives or financing schemes do you consider most effective in promoting the adoption of flexibility technologies in OPTIMEMS?
Well, we don't adopt flexibility, we exploit flexibility, or we actually enable people to exploit their flexibility through our software/hardware, because we also have a hardware. The finance schemes, well, the subsidiaries that, for example, the Greek government has been providing to the people, especially with the latest program that we have. In Greek, it's photovoltaika stegi, which means solars at the roof. These are all good. However, just giving bluntly lump sums of money is not a long-term solution, in my humble opinion. What we do need is the frameworks which will enable everybody, like from a house, a small industry, a neighborhood, a smart city, you name it, anybody, any player. They will enable them to exploit the available already resources at the fullest, and in order to create new revenue streams. How? Dynamic pricing, real-time pricing, demand response for everybody, either explicit or implicit. And the second one, I think I have already integrated in my answer, so it's just what I said. Yeah.
Okay, understood. Now regarding consumer acceptance and barriers, do you think there is a lack of specific regulatory framework for the integration of flexibility technologies into operational field devices?
Well, I think this question perplexes a little bit legal and technological aspects. So I will start from the latter. As we have seen, the whole field of flexibility, this umbrella and the generic term, is comprised of several different heterogeneous technologies. This essentially means that in order to make them work together, you need to create some kind of middleware that enables them to collaborate with each other, essentially talk with each other or talk with a centralized brain. And what we have seen is that, and that was throughout the years within our work at CERTH, is that the different communication protocols and different communication needs of each technology puts a halt in the adoption of flexibility, if I may say it in a general term. This essentially, this is actually something that we tried to solve, and through blood, sweat, and tears, we actually did achieve to solve it. Because we exploited the open protocols that the manufacturers enable on the operational field devices to use in order to connect a centralized energy management system. This is what we call the brain. This is our product. However, this is a very, very long and lengthy procedure, and the more manufacturers you have and the more products they create, essentially you need to put them also within this middleware. How we could solve this? Regulations, standardization of communication protocols for everybody. You are an inverter manufacturer, you are an EV charger, you are a smart meter, you are a thermal battery, whoever you are, you need to have a standardized way of communicating. And I'm not only referring to communication protocols in terms of, it should be Modbus TCP or Modbus RTU or whatever. I am referring to the actual communication which happens through the registries. There is no standardization currently regarding how you monitor and how you control. So I think we could have some regulations towards this direction, because interoperability is a key when we want to maximize flexibility.
Well, I couldn't agree more. The last section of questions is about the future developments. So when it comes to market trends, what market trends or changes do you think will affect the flexibility sector? And how is your organization, OPTIMEMS, getting ready to adjust to these changes?
Well, market trends. I think that the very first thing that we're going to see is the dynamic time of use or even real-time pricing in order to actually give more motives or maximize revenues for the ones who are already ready to operate as a microgrid or a virtual power plant through a shooting EMS. That's the very first one. And the second one that I see is the deployment of demand response schemes, at least at first implicit DR, through some kind of motives like price changes for a very, very specific amount of time, which are communicated to the users through an app or something like this. These are the very first two that I expect. And then the third one is V2G. So I expect that bi-directional charging discharging from electric vehicles is going to grow very, very fast in, I don't know, 3 to 5 years from now, which essentially will enable the support of the grid, meaning that we want to minimize how much curtailment we're doing, So we're going to either charge or just like boost the grid by V2G when it is needed. And applications can happen in massive parking lots. The reason why I'm referring this last one is because maybe you don't know, but in France, a new law has passed quite recently regarding solar canopies, where they say that every parking with more than 80 spots for parking, it needs to have solar canopies along with bidirectional V2G chargers. The second one is actually still as a suggestion, but the canopies, they are already there in place. Why? Because they want actually to use these parkings as an aggregated flexibility operator. How is OPTIMEMS getting ready? Well, since we are offsprings of RIA and IA Horizon projects, mainly RIA, most of these things we have already integrated them, and this is why we are also compliant with the standards and protocols necessary for the aforementioned changes like OpenADR, OCPP, and OCPI. So yeah, fingers crossed we are ready.
When you think about it, because you said so, you would need to have an aggregator, especially for V2G when it comes to many vehicles. And if you think about it even more, then maybe there would be many aggregators for different regions. And maybe they would have like contradicting conflict of, how do you say, conflict of interest?
Well, yes, this could happen. However, at the same time, you could have them collaborating somehow. Like if like it's a separate market or it's part of the balancing or the intraday market, then they would be just players as they are in the regular markets where they just bid and whoever delivers gets paid. So yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. So next question about the market expansion. How do you envision the expansion of energy flexibility markets, both regionally and in Europe, in the coming years?
Well, if we're talking market size, I can give you some numbers regarding microgrids and VPPs, who are essentially the main bodies of flexibility extraction. Well, the huge growth is going to happen at the microgrid market by 2028. It is estimated that it will reach $79 billion. And the very first player over there is going to be the US. Second is going to be Asia and Australia. And then it's Europe. Why? Because Europe has quite rigid regulations. It's the problem that we were talking about. Therefore, it's still not economically viable for investors and industries to invest in these kinds of technology massively, whereas in the US and Asia and a tiny bit Australia, it's much easier, so they have proper financial incentives. At the same time, we are going to see the virtual, and also just because it's very, very important to underline the growth rate of the microgrid market. It is going to register at 20.1 CAGR from 2023 up until 2028. At the same time, we see also very prominent prospects, from the VPP market. Of course, it's much, much smaller. It is going to reach around 9.2 billion by 2028, but it has the biggest growth rate, registering a CAGR of around 32%. This essentially means, in very, very simple, and the second leader is Europe. This means that given proper regulations, we can see an enormous market growth in both microgrids and VPPs, and therefore flexibility. It all comes down to actually, however, deciding the proper regulations, because the technology is there. Research has showed it multiple times in the past. So now we need the adoption of said technologies.
I see your point. Now, regarding market impact, what impact do you anticipate flexibility technologies will have on energy markets, prices, and supply in the future?
Well, for sure, whenever some kind of demand is flexible, this will mean that, well, in a simplistic way, that prices are going to fall. And also at the same time, we're going to see a positive impact on our carbon footprint, because we are going to, I don't know if the correct verb is minimize, but reduce for sure the curtailment of the renewables. So, yeah, nonetheless, the whole thing about energy prices, even if you don't curtail your renewables, or if you have the proper revenue streams for your players through demand response, for example, they are not always set by objective stuff. Like the price of the oil barrels or of natural gas. This has nothing to do with what we actually do, but it's I don't know, some bearded guy who decides. Yeah.
Yay, I see your point. Okay, yes. And then we have the final question for this interview. What kind of innovations or technological developments do you consider most relevant for the development of flexibility in OPTIMEMS?
Well, our solution is already a conglomeration of innovations with technologies like optimization, like the classic deterministic one, stochastic optimization, reinforcement learning. These are all for the decision making of the EMS. Then for forecasting, we have our very own machine learning and deep learning models, which are a fusion between the analytical and data-driven approaches. And then everything has to do with interoperability and IoT. We have already covered it. This is what we have done, and actually these are our competitive advantages, if I may. However, I see that there is still need for heavy R&D regarding battery degradation and how we can halt it or make it slower. Because right now, as operation is being done within batteries, it's not optimized, and we see many projects where people, they buy batteries and they invest in them, and the return of investment of these projects, it's I don't know, 8 or 9 years, and by year 7 the battery is dead. So that's one thing that I would really stress out. And the second one has to do with disaggregation. Currently, the technologies that we do have, they do not provide the real concrete results that we need. And the disaggregation, we need it in terms of flexibility in order to create proper recommendation engines for the users of when to use their appliances, and have and be certain that they would use the device either way, and not just say a recommendation to, I don't know, to Maria, oh, don't put your dishwasher then, but Maria does not have a dishwasher at home. These are actually practical problems that we have seen in the past. So these two things I would consider as necessary innovations: battery degradation and proper disaggregation.
Well, how do you feel about the combination of different storage technologies? For example, the combination of the advantages of batteries with the advantages of supercapacitors or
Perfect.
flywheels.
Yeah, I feel perfect, and I adore these kind of concepts because each different energy storage system has different characteristics in terms of power or and energy density. So, for example, you need supercapacitors because they have amazing power density, which means that they can give you like a spike when you need it, and then perfect. Or, for example, you need the same for flywheels, or you need slow burning in quotations batteries like electrochemical ion batteries in order to have energy density. So the mix and matching it's of energy storage systems, I see it as being in the correct direction, and it reminds me as we do protection systems. Do you remember
Yes.
protection systems from the university that we have like
Yes, of
different
course.
ones with different timings in order for all of them together to create one holistic system that protects you for everything? It's the same exact thing with batteries.
I suppose so. Yes, indeed. So, this is the end of this interview. I would like to
Yay!
thank you very much for your participation. And of course, the
Thank you.
results and what we talked about will be included in the respective deliverable of SINNOGENES.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Maria, and SINNOGENES Consortium for giving me this opportunity to discuss this quite hot topic of flexibility.